Hello and welcome. It is Monday, November 5th, 2018. And today I'm bringing you part one of the tarot deck known as Dark Grimoire Tarot here in English, and in Italian well, outside of the United States, it is Tarot of the Necronomicon. Now, this was previously on my other channel. That channel got deleted. Now, unfortunately, it was a tough decision to make, because I could not save my Late Night Occult videos that were on that channel. And this was one of them, where I reviewed the deck all in one go. But I'm going to do it a little bit better. I'm going to reboot it, as you modern people say. And this is going to be in separate parts. Now, I explained how this deck is my very first tarot deck. I went to go into Borders when they were going out of business. I was looking for the Donald Tyson Necronomicon deck, which I knew they had at one time. But I made the poor unfortunate choice of not buying it right then. And I saw this deck behind the counters on my way out, and it said Dark Grimoire Tarot, and I'm like, can I see that? And they're like, yeah, I'll take it. It is made by Turin, Italy. Torino, Italy. This deck is the equivalent in difficulty to the Aleister Crowley deck. Doesn't matter which version you go by. The OTO version, which I have, and the standard Thoth versions that you can find everywhere. The whole premise of this deck is looking at tarot as books of magic. And it goes into a little bit about ancient texts, the Necronomicon, like the history and all that. Then tarots as books of magic. And then the key to reading is the profound meaning of the tarot is a message of love, of awareness, and comprehension that seeks to answer the eternal queries of man, who are thereby escape his so-called destiny by developing his consciousness. Like in the ancient Delphic saying, know yourself. For this reason, ignorance can never be redeeming, nor can awareness bring about any determinist curse. Therefore, tarots could never be an evil and frightful grimoire, but rather will always adapt to being an instrument of the will of man, a true master of his own destiny, and always more aware of this power. As a divinatory game, randomly select 5 cards from the deck and arrange them according to the Magick pentagram, a symbol that the grimoires advise for fettering the demons of air, the spirits of fire, the specter of water, and the ghosts of the earth. And then it goes into the descriptions of each of the cards. This video is the Major Arcana, by the way. So we have the Fool, the Magician, and the High Priestess. Now, I'm not going to read all 22 of the descriptions. That would be way too long. But I will read some of the key cards. For example, the Fool. If the abyss of the unconscious unexpectedly gapes open before you, all reason may fail, as you pass the spheres of existence one by one. You approach the center of the external universe, where time and space no longer have meaning. Extraordinary creatures are born of chaos in the mad mind of Azathoth and settle in the multidimensional world. Now, the Magician may look a little familiar for those who are H.P. Lovecraft aficionados like myself. The Magician. 13 centuries ago, the Yemeni wizard and poet Abdul al-Hazred wrote the Necronomicon, the key that opens the gateway to the underworld, from the open window overlooking the countryside of Damascus. We can hear the nocturnal insects that the people call al-Azif, but the magician knows that they are really ancient demons. Then we have the High Priestess. Now, I want to talk about the art on some of these cards. Like, the Fool. If you are familiar with Lovecraft, you know that his overlying theme, when humans come into contact with these demonic aliens and ancient beings that we portrayed as gods in the days of old, like, our human mind cannot fathom, it cannot understand what it's seeing, and thus causing madness. If that makes any kind of sense. I mean, I hate to break it to you, and it's the honest truth, but... And I was against it, but... really, the ones that we call gods, in this sense, are nothing more than just space aliens and multidimensional aliens. But we look upon them as these powerful entities who are beyond our comprehension, our space and time, because they live outside of it. They live in between it. And there are very many parallels between this and the Simon Necronomicon. But they're like they have their own set of power. You know, they're not like us plain humans who can, you know, do boring stuff. Like our technology, our science, magic, which is science unexplained, like it's advanced like magic is advanced science. That sort of thing. But ancient man, you know, worshipped these beings as if they were gods. And in their own right, they kind of are when compared to us. If that makes sense, give this video a thumbs up. We have the Empress, the Emperor, and the Hierophant. Now, I want you to pay attention to the Major Arcana, because you're going to start to see one of the major annoyances I have with this deck. Now, like I said, this is my first tarot deck. I love it. But the artwork is gradually getting faded. Here we have the Lovers, the Chariot, and Justice. For example, for Justice. At the foot of the impassive and severe idol that keeps the chalices of shadow and of light in equilibrium, the servitors of Cthulhu have left traces of black magic, evocations of demons, and voodoo rituals. Like, you gotta be pretty much, and I said it in the last video, you gotta pretty much be up on your Lovecraftian lore. The Chariot is far interesting. Far from the concentric shells of Azathoth, and from the world of dreams, the beyond awaits the chariot of the irrational one, where pure creativity can generate the fantasy of the immaterial spirit, or the madness of the eternal nightmare. The charioteer whips the two horses with glowing ember eyes while transporting the remains of material bodies. Plus, it's also talking about, you know, in a multi-dimensional point of view, which is a plus. But like I said, this is not for beginners of tarot. We have the Hermit. We have the Wheel. We have Strength. The Strength is an interesting card description. With the shining trapezohedron, the girl confronts the gigantic avatar of Nyarlathotep. That's something that is not in the stone, but watches her from beyond the stone. That is from The Haunter in Darkness. Lovecraft's last story, if I believe correctly. Because he was starting to leave cosmic horror and go more into a science fiction. The strength to conquer the invoked demon can be found in your heart and not in the grimoire. So obviously, your standard strength at the end there. This one we have the Hanged Man. We have the Death card. We have Temperance. Now, the Hanged Man is terror triggered by reading the grimoire, gives rise to the deepest desperation in those who know that the window in the room under the eaves is a gateway to another dimension, to times and spaces not of our world. Now, I find it funny because the next card is Death, that they use that description. Death. In the nameless city, the mad poet who wrote the Necronomicon also wrote the famous verses, "What can live eternally cannot be dead, and in strange aeons even death may die." Now, if you take the description of the Hanged Man and look at the description, or look at the picture of the Death card, the gateway to another dimension. And what do we see? Giant doors. See how this kind of is put together synchronistically? If that makes sense, if I'm even using the correct word. We have the devil, the tower, and the star. Now, this one I'm kind of with the devil in the crevice that mirrors the moon. The gigantic hands of the slimy and scaly Dagon emerge from the waters like the deepest horrors emerge from our unconsciousness. Now, if you look at Dagon here, he's a little bit more closer to Cthulhu in terms of looks. Now, if we go to the tower, the monstrous Cthulhu with its blob-like octopus head has reawakened. It now wraps its flaccid body and tentacles around the tower, which collapses under the blows of the horror that came from the stars to wait in the shadows. Now, I've seen some funky depictions of Cthulhu, and this by far is the worst one. It does look like a blob. Personally, I would have switched Cthulhu with Dagon. I would have put Cthulhu at the devil, but that's just my opinion. And then we have the star. The demons that came from distant spaces are imprisoned by the energy of the perfect alignment of the stars. The evil stellar progeny has been defeated by the propitious astral conjunction, meaning the stars in the sky move like they do now, but they moved into an alignment, which, quite honestly, I still haven't figured what the hell that means, how that is, but I guess that's one for the H.P. Lovecraft Historical Society. But again, that's also parallel to the Simon Necronomicon, as that is astrology or astronomy, whatever the science that deals with the movement of the stars. I know it can be under astrology, but the book anyway. And here we have the moon, the sun, and Judgment. And you're starting to see a little bit of the color fade away. Like, this is like the most colorful set since set 2. 4 through 6. And this is just kind of bleh. And, you know, Judgment is pretty fascinating, as it has rainbows and the pyramid. They have it listed as the monolith, but it's a pyramid. The great old ones need man, and make themselves known in their dreams by calling low. The monolith rises between the rainbows that recall the pact between man and his soul. And then finally, we have the world. Beyond the physical world, created by the madman Azathoth, reaching the beyond via the most subtle Woneric dimensions means saving yourself and fulfilling your greatest dream. So, and you can just kind of see just how bleh, like, dusty, you know, and not because there's, you know, that going on, but you can clearly see it in Judgment, and then Death. I mean, especially the Lovers. But yeah, this has been the Major Arcana. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns about it, please feel free to ask. Do keep in mind this is part 1. And I will be uploading various other parts here soon. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please feel free to let me know. If you have any questions about the tarot deck, please let me know. At the end of the series, I will be giving my complete and honest review. This is going to be similar to my playlist 09, A009, which is the Mystic Dreamer Tarot review. So, yeah. Be sure to click that little bell to stay informed. Be sure to read the descriptions in these videos, because they will contain the links to where you can find me on social media. And I will see you all later. And have a good day.